All right, get ready for this deep dive because we're going to explore one of the most hilariously absurd monster movies ever made. Imagine like King Kong, but with a way smaller budget,
Hmm.
a lot more slapstick, and a giant ape who seems like he wandered in from, a Marx Brothers film or something.
Yeah, what really strikes me is how this movie, just completely revels in its own ridiculousness. It's like it just throws all sense of realism right out the window and embraces like this pure, unadulterated camp. Feels like the filmmakers knew they couldn't compete with those big budget spectacles, so they just decided to like lean into the absurdity and make something that's, truly unique.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they took the go big or go home approach. Except in this case, big meant a giant ape with a thing for giving helicopters the finger. So let's set the scene. Our primate protagonist is, being transported on an oil tanker off the coast of South Korea when, surprise, surprise, he breaks free. And his first act of defiance, a brawl with a giant shark. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, that opening scene, it's just like a perfect little microcosm of the film's chaotic energy. It's completely over the top, defying like any sense of scale or logic. Even the biggest great white shark ever recorded would be you know, like a little snack for a 36-foot ape. It's just this glorious spectacle of schlocky special effects and like unrestrained imagination.
And from there, the absurdity just like escalates. Our ape uh, makes landfall in South Korea, and it's like watching a bull in a china shop, except the bull is a giant ape, and the china shop is, well, South Korea. We're talking rampaging through miniature towns, tossing explosive barrels around like he's playing, a real-life game of Donkey Kong.
Yeah, the use of miniatures and those over-the-top action sequences, they definitely like hark back to, those classic monster movies and even video games. It's like a visual love letter to all those campy B movies that we all secretly adore.
But amidst all this mayhem, there's this layer of hilarious skepticism, particularly from the American military stationed in South Korea. They just flat out refuse to believe the reports of a giant ape running amok. Enter the wondrously cynical Colonel Davis, a chain-smoking, joke-cracking embodiment of military disbelief.
Oh yeah, Colonel Davis is such a brilliant caricature of that like authority figure who refuses to acknowledge the obvious.
Hmm.
He's constantly downplaying the situation, suggesting it's all just some publicity stunt. His deadpan delivery and like the constant stream of wisecracks just adds to the comedic brilliance of the film.
So while the military is busy scoffing, the ape is on a truly bizarre odyssey through the Korean countryside. We've got a scene where he encounters a giant python in a tree, and he just casually tosses it aside like it's, a pesky fly.
It's that randomness, that unexpected juxtaposition of like a giant ape and these everyday occurrences that makes the film so entertaining. You just never know what's going to happen next, and that unpredictability keeps you, on the edge of your seat,
Yeah.
laughing the entire time.
And then there's the moment he stumbles onto a martial arts movie set. The actors attack, thinking they're part of the scene, and the ape just looks at them like, are you kidding me? He even breaks out into like a little dance move at one point, as if he's like mocking their attempts to fight him.
Oh, that scene perfectly captures the film's self-aware humor. It's like, poking fun at the conventions of action movies, highlighting the absurdity of those choreographed fight scenes when you throw a giant ape into the mix. It's like the film is, winking at the audience saying, we know this is ridiculous and we're having a blast with it.
And then in a surprisingly tender moment, the ape finds himself at Familyland, a children's theme park. He's watching the kids play, and there's this sense of melancholy, almost like a longing in his eyes.
Yeah, that scene really throws you for a loop. It injects a bit of pathos into this otherwise wacky narrative. For a brief moment, you see the ape not as, like this destructive monster, but as a creature capable of, like, complex emotions. It makes you wonder, like, what's going on in that giant head of his? Is he, like, lamenting his own isolation,
Yeah.
yearning for a connection he can't have? It's a surprisingly thought-provoking moment in a film that's otherwise content with just being utterly absurd.
Yeah, it's almost as if like the filmmakers are hinting at the ape's own, like childlike nature, a sense of innocence that's been lost amidst all the chaos and destruction he's unleashed. It's a reminder that even the most monstrous creatures can have like, unexpected depths.
And speaking of unexpected, just when you think this ape is all about smashing and crashing, he develops this peculiar fascination with American actress Marilyn Baker, who's in South Korea filming a movie. Oh yeah, this is where the classic Beauty and the Beast trope gets, like a hilariously bizarre twist. You've got this glamorous Hollywood starlet, and she's suddenly like the object of affection for a giant ape who probably couldn't tell, a lipstick from a banana. It's just a wonderfully absurd setup, and the film just milks it for all its comedic worth.
Oh, it gets even weirder.
Hmm.
The ape decides to abduct Marilyn from her movie set. And of all the scenes they could be filming, it's a rape scene. Talk about a jarring tonal shift.
Yeah, the inclusion of that scene is certainly a head scratcher. It's like
Yeah.
the filmmakers threw it in as like a last minute attempt to, add some shock value, but it ends up feeling completely out of place. It's a reminder that this film, for all its comedic brilliance, sometimes stumbles over its own attempts at like, edginess.
So you've got Marilyn screaming her head off at first because, well, she's just been kidnapped by a giant ape. But then, and this is where it gets really strange, she calms down and seems to develop this bizarre sense of attraction to the ape. It's like Stockholm Syndrome meets King Kong with a dash of slapstick humor thrown in for good measure.
It's a classic case of, like the damsel in distress finding an unlikely protector in her captor. But the humor comes from the sheer implausibility of it all. I mean, how do you even begin to rationalize a human being developing romantic feelings for a giant ape? It's a testament to the film's commitment to just embracing the absurd.
Of course, the authorities can't just let a giant ape roam free with a Hollywood starlet in tow. So we get this hilariously inept attempt by the South Korean and American military to capture the ape alive. They throw everything they've got at him, helicopters, paratroopers, you name it. But it's like trying to catch a greased piglet in a hurricane.
The scenes of the military trying to subdue the ape are pure slapstick gold. They're just completely outmatched by his size and strength. And their attempts to capture him are more about, like, spectacle than strategy. You
Yeah.
almost feel sorry for them. Almost.
And the ape's response to all this military might, well, let's just say he doesn't exactly extend a warm welcome. In one particularly memorable scene, he flips off a helicopter before smashing it to smithereens. It's a moment that perfectly encapsulates the film's gleeful disregard for authority and its penchant for juvenile humor.
Yeah, that middle finger salute is almost like a meta commentary on the film itself. It's like the filmmakers are saying, we know this is ridiculous, we know it's lowbrow, but we're going to embrace it wholeheartedly and have a blast doing it.
Yeah.
And that's precisely why the film works.
But amidst all this mayhem, the ape hasn't forgotten about Marilyn. He's on a mission to find her, and that mission takes him on a rampage through Seoul. We're talking peering into buildings, smashing through miniature cities, even encountering a prostitute along the way. It's like a whirlwind tour of the city with a giant ape leaving a trail of destruction and bewilderment in his wake.
It's almost as if the ape is, like searching for something, like a sense of belonging, perhaps, in this human world that he so clearly doesn't fit into.
Yeah.
His rampage through Seoul is like this chaotic expression of his frustration, his inability to communicate his desires or find a place where he truly belongs.
He finally finds Marilyn at the house of a Korean police captain. But just when you think our star-crossed lovers might have a moment of peace, the military decides to take matters into their own hands. And by take matters into their own hands, I mean unleash a full-scale assault on a giant ape who, let's be honest, is just trying to find his misplaced love interest.
Yeah, the final confrontation between the ape and the military is where the film's comedic tone takes a back seat to this surprisingly poignant sense of tragedy. It's clear from the outset that the ape is, doomed. He's outmatched, outgunned, and facing an enemy that's determined to eliminate him. But even in the face of, certain deaths, he displays this remarkable capacity for love and sacrifice.
Yeah, it gets pretty heavy there at the end. The ape, realizing he can't win, gently sets Marilyn down to, protect her from the impending barrage of tanks and artillery.
Yeah.
It's a moment of unexpected tenderness amidst all the chaos, a glimmer of humanity in a creature that society has labeled a monster.
And that's the real brilliance of this film. It manages to, make you laugh, cringe, and even shed a tear, sometimes all within the same scene. It's a testament to the power of storytelling, how even the most absurd premises can, evoke genuine emotion if handled with a deft touch.
It certainly leaves a lasting impression. Marilyn and her journalist boyfriend, Tom Rose, are left mourning the loss of this giant creature who, despite his flaws,
Yeah.
ultimately showed, a surprising capacity for love and sacrifice. It's a bittersweet ending to a film that's as heartwarming as it is hilarious. Yeah.
It really makes you think, about how quick we are to label something as a monster, as other, without really trying to, like, understand it.
Absolutely. It's like a recurring theme in, in a lot of these monster movies, this fear of the unknown, this urge to destroy anything that challenges how we see the world.
Yeah, yeah.
But this film, through like its humor and its pathos, it asks us to like look past those knee-jerk reactions and think about the possibility of empathy, even for a creature that seems as destructive as a giant ape. Yeah, it's like the ape is like a mirror,
Yeah.
reflecting our own capacity for compassion and cruelty. He's both like this destructive force and a vulnerable creature who's just like longing for connection.
Hmm.
It's a complex and kind of contradictory portrayal, which is I think what makes him such a fascinating character.
Yeah. And it's a testament to the filmmakers, and their ability to balance those, like, seemingly different elements, the humor, the action, the surprisingly, heartfelt moments without ever losing sight of that underlying message
Yeah.
about understanding and acceptance.
I think that's why this film,
Yeah.
despite its low budget origins
Yeah.
and its over the top absurdity, it's resonated with audiences for decades.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that laughter and tears aren't like mutually exclusive. That even in the most outlandish scenarios, we can still find those moments of like genuine human connection.
Yeah, and perhaps, it also serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of, judging a book by its cover, or in this case, a giant ape by its giantness.
If a giant ape were to show up in our world today, would we meet him with fear and aggression,
Mm.
or with curiosity and a willingness to understand? It's a question that kind of lingers long after the credits roll,
Hmm.
a testament to the film's enduring power to make us think and start conversations.
Yeah, and that I think is that's the hallmark of truly great storytelling, the ability to entertain and enlighten, to make
Yeah.
us, laugh and cry,
Yeah.
and to leave us with questions that resonate long after, the experience is over.
Well said. This deep dive has been a wild ride, a whirlwind of absurdity, pathos, and thought-provoking insights. A huge thanks to you, our listener, for suggesting this fascinating film, and to all our fellow deep divers out there.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those suggestions coming. Until next time, stay curious.